All right, guys, it is 1 o'clock Eastern, and we're going to give 1 more minute here for people to get on, and we're going to get started. And I think everything seems to be working correctly. Audio seems to be working. If you are not able to hear me or not able to see the screen, let me know. And I'm going to enable the chat so you can let me know if you are unable to do that. And we will move forward, okay? In just 1 minute. So it looks like we have people from all kinds of different parts of the country. I can imagine what nationalities you guys have. You know, as you may already know, I am originally from Poland. I'm really excited to do this webinar because I think it's going to help us immigrants grow to a whole new level. One of the things that I've been very fortunate to be able to do in life is to be able to interview some powerful immigrants. That's what I'm going to be talking about on this particular call today. And that is, what is the number one reason why almost half of the Fortune 500's 2017's list was founded by first or second generation immigrants? I think that is very powerful because there's something to be said about that, right? So I am really excited to share this information with you guys. And without further ado, I'm going to start talking about this. So why do I want to talk about this? Well, the reason why I want to talk about this because this thing is very powerful. I think, there's a reason why 27% of United States population is by first, second generation immigrants, yet almost half of them are Fortune 500 people. So how is it that they make this do this? How does this work? So one thing that I want to make sure that you understand that whatever information I'm sharing you here with you, please do not use this for evil, okay? This is something that I want you to discover for yourself because the information is going to be really powerful here. When I finally was able to discover this information for myself, when I found this out, when it clicked for me, my whole business, my relationships, everything changed for me. And I want to do that same for you. However, this kind of stuff can be used for wrong, and I don't want you to be Dr. Evil, and I don't think you want to be Dr. Evil because that doesn't work, right? So here's my promise to you. My promise to you on this webinar is that you will come away from this webinar with an aha moment, with something powerful for yourself that you can apply to your life today. I'm not talking about 5 months from now or a year from now. I'm talking about today. You can literally get something for yourself out of this webinar today, in this very moment when we are talking in this webinar. So please pay close attention, because here's what you're going to be able to discover. I think one of the things is, what is stopping you in life? What's stopping you in your business? What's stopping you in your relationships and everything? And I hate to break this to you, but I'll give you a little hint. It's you, right? You've been living with yourself your whole entire life, and you've been in different circumstances, different experiences in life, but the common denominator across all of this is you. So that's what's stopping you. So you want to make sure that you listen very carefully to this, because I'm going to be talking about what the multimillionaires of this country, the immigrants, the multimillionaires, they come from different cultures, different walks of life, different circumstances that they've had. And most of them, I promise you, did not come here with millions of dollars of their money to start a company and be able to succeed in business. Most of them started with nothing. Some of the people that I've interviewed on my podcast have come here literally with just a suitcase. And so did I when I was, younger. And I'll share this story a little bit about myself in just a minute. But I want you to really pay close attention, because these traits, these skill sets, these aha moments, whatever these people have been able to do, have been they're repeatable. They're actually inside of you right now. It's just a matter of you uncovering them, revealing them. And you'll see what I mean by that in just a minute. So, and by the way, I'll give you a cool gift at the end of this webinar. So be very, 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 stay on the call. All right. So here's my promise to you. My promise to you is that you get this, but also I am asking you to give me a promise for this webinar. In order for this to be effective, you need to be on here, right? You need to be open-minded. What I mean by that is, I'm not saying that everything I'm saying in this webinar is right, is the absolute truth, right? But what I am saying is that you consider what I'm saying to you, that this might apply to you in your life. It's actually something that you can use in your own life. So just try it on. You know how we go to the store and we try on clothes? Just try this on and see how it fits you, see how it works for you, okay? Another thing that I want you to be open with is to be coachable. You know, one of the things that a lot of my students, the reason why they're able to be successful is because they're coachable. What I mean by that is actually be open-minded about what I'm going to share with you. Be coachable. Try this on and that kind of stuff. Because when you're not coachable, guess what? You might as well jump off this webinar right now and not sit here for the next hour or so, because it's not going to be beneficial to you. And I know that your time is important, very important to you, because it is important to me. So I want you to be open and coachable, right? Be present. Here's what I mean by that. Be on this webinar. Put the phone away, put it on silent, get off Facebook. I know some of you might be on Facebook right now, so get off Facebook right now. It will be there in an hour, but I think this is so important that you pay attention to you, because it's going to help you, really. I promise you it's going to help you in your life. And set those opinions aside, right? You might have some opinions going on right now, you know. Maybe it's about my accent. Maybe it's about what this is about, you know. And I'll just be quiet for 1 minute, and I'll let you to hear that little voice that's in your head right now that's giving you all kinds of opinions. So what'd you hear? Did you hear, like, what is this guy talking about? Or why did I come in here? Or whatever the case may be. Well, I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to hear what he has to share, I think. But if he's promising this and is going to deliver on it, I think might be pretty exciting. But guess what? You have that voice in your head 24/7. So just set that aside for a little bit and consider that what I'm sharing with you is going to actually help you. All right. So by the way, when you start to the end, I am going to show you and tell you how you can actually get a free coaching session from me. And I'm going to give you a link to my Simple Shift Business Manifesto. It's a manifesto that I wrote not long ago. And basically it talks about the number one reason why your business is not making you more money, and how this simple shift will finally double, triple, even quadruple your profits in the next 12 months. How would that sound? If you could literally, apply the principle that I'm talking about in this manifesto and be able to start, increasing your profits, doubling, and maybe even tripling your profits in the next 12 months. And I'm going to give you this for free at the end of this webinar. So stay on here. Okay. So like I said, turn everything off, the phones off, not the computer or whatever you're on listening to this webinar. You want to keep that on. But on your phones, Facebooks, Instagrams, any kinds of distractions, basically, right? If you're in a room where it's loud, just move over to another room. I promise you it's going to be worth your time, okay? So by the way, before I continue, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not some kind of a neuroscientist or some kind of a specialist. I don't have ton of degrees and all that kind of stuff. I have 2 degrees, but not ton of them. I'm not a hypnotist. I'm not a brain expert. However, I study this every single day and I apply it in my business. And I coach people on that kind of stuff and they get results. So consider that what I'm sharing with you might actually be applicable, might actually work. So, but like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so consider that warning. And if you feel like you need to consult with your lawyer, okay? So why would you want to listen to me? Why listen to Polish Peter? Well, I'm a first-generation immigrant. I came here from Poland to the United States when I was just 14 years old, without any English. All I had is a suitcase in my hand. I'm going to share a little bit more about my story because it is very pertinent to what I'm teaching you about here, because it's talk about discovery, right? And why these immigrants, why these Fortune 500 companies are so successful, and why the immigrants are so successful, because of the discoveries that they constantly do. And I'm going to share what that exactly is in just a minute. So I came here when I was 14 years old. I'm speaking English. In fact, for the first several months, all I did is sit in a classroom and I would just listen to my name to be called, Peter Kolat, and I would just raise my hand and say, here. So they take my attendance. And you might relate to that, right? Especially if you're an immigrant from another country without English. First several months, it's not the easiest thing to be here, right? And there's a different culture and all kinds of stuff, which I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, okay? Fast forward to today, I own a successful business development and coaching company. I've owned that company for over 10 years now. Actually, it's about 10 years. And it's a very successful company. I've worked in about 16 different industries. I've been able to help scale multi-million-dollar companies and clients. And one of the things that I do every single day that I'm very passionate about is to study human behavior. And that's what's helping me in my business, within myself, with my family, with my kids, with my business, with my clients, with everything, So I study human behavior. Why do we buy stuff that we don't need? Why do we buy this crap, right, that we don't need? That's one of the things. So, I do marketing for a lot of these businesses, so I need to know that. Tap into your mind kind of thing, right? And it's been to a point where I've been referred to by some people as Polish Tony. If you know who Tony Robbins is, you'll know the reference. I'm very fortunate that God gave me the gift to be able to speak into people's minds and into their lives and be able to see what's behind of what they do or don't do, okay? So, like I said before, I interviewed a lot of powerful immigrants. And so over a year ago, I decided to go on this discovery, right? To find out exactly why are some immigrants so successful. So I created a podcast. If you're not familiar with podcasts, it's basically like a radio kind of a channel. It's just you can listen to it at any time, any place. And my podcast episodes run for about 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And what I've done is I went and I interviewed successful immigrant business owners, entrepreneurs in the country that came here from all kinds of different walks of life. If you look on here, there's Germany. I have a gentleman right here, Temai. He is originally from Vietnam. That guy's story is unbelievable. He literally escaped the communist country over there with 30-some other people on a little fishing boat. And that's how they escaped the country. And came here, created a company, and he's multi-million-dollar real estate company that he's developed. And it was very, very successful. This particular gentleman over here is from Australia. And he developed a company where it's a franchise company, and all it does, it washes dogs on wheels. So it's like washing dogs on wheels. You have buses going around the country and washing dogs. By the way, guess what? How much this company makes? The revenue, it's $10 million a year in revenue. Unbelievable. So, all kinds of different, the Brazil and Argentina and Greece, this particular gentleman, a really good friend of mine, Chris Kermitzos, he shared some powerful strategies that he's been able to do and take away from the old country and apply to this country to be successful. And that's where I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. We have people from Poland, publicity, all kinds of different walks of life, real estate people, and things like that. So that's where I'm going to be sharing with you guys today. So why is it? So this podcast, like I said, has been seen on many different channels now over the internet. Has been on Market Watch, CNBC, New York, Chicago Business, Boston Business Journal, and all kinds of different websites. As far as me personally, I have been featured in Fast Company magazine as one of the top 100 most influential people in one of their issues. As you can see here, this is the cover of the magazine, and this is the there's a picture of me right here. You can see there, number 82, top 100 most influential people on the internet. And also on LinkedIn, I am in the top 10% of LinkedIn connected people on LinkedIn. Now, why am I telling you this? Because I love connecting people. I love being there for other people and help them in different ways. So I constantly talk to people, like on this podcast. I've been fortunate to meet so many powerful immigrants. And on LinkedIn, I have so many different connections that I can talk to. And a lot of times when I talk to somebody, I can see what is it that they are looking for and be able to connect with people. I myself, I am involved in masterminds and coaching groups. This is one of the masterminds on the top left corner you see here that I belong to. See, here are some of the pictures of some of the immigrants that are multimillionaires. They're not big in the scene, but they are multimillionaires. These are the people that you want to connect with, right? There's Tim Mai that I talked to you guys about, Chris that I talked to you guys about. There's Larry. He is in the real estate industry and is a very powerful, quote unquote, guru in the real estate industry who is making and helping a lot of people make money. I've been able to speak at different venues, different circuits, different events. Here is one event from PodFest. I was one of the speakers at that event. It was a great event. I was able to help so many people with their marketing, their particular podcast. What I'm also able to do, because of the way I've set up my life, because of the discoveries that I'm able to do, is be able to travel, be able to enjoy life, right? So I've been all over the United States here. Here is one in New Orleans. Then this one where you see the piano in the background, that's actually the house of the infamous Elvis. I was over there in this house. It's amazing. The next picture you see here is climbing the Manitou Incline in Colorado, which, by the way, is one of the hardest physical feats I've ever done in my life. It was crazy. Then there's a Colorado here. Bottom left picture, I'm in Seattle. Then I'm on a plane, like a commercial plane here. They left me in the cabinet. I don't know why they did, but they did. There's another in front of the Melissa Marie, which is the jet, the private jet that Elvis owned, which I was astonished I couldn't. He actually owned 2 planes. So that was crazy. And this is in Austin, Texas. So I've been traveling all over the country and been able to actually do a lot of things with my own family. That's what this life allows me to do. You know, it allows me to go to the games with my kids. These are my 3 kids that I have. Right now, I have 3 kids, 11-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy, and a 15-year-old boy. And, you know, this is the picture with my girlfriend, a recent trip in Florida. I've been able to actually go on field trip with my kids. Guess what? When I go on these field trips, it's interesting to see because I am pretty much the only dad, the only man in those trips. Because guess what all the dads are? They're at work at 9 to 5. And that's why I want to share this with you guys so you guys can have that breakthrough, right? And a couple other pictures here. There's my kids. This is actually at lunch with one of my kids that I went to on the right side of the screen here. That I just went to his lunch and they had like an open lunch for adults to come in, and I was one of the few parents that was over there. You know, I'm a big fan of Detroit Red Wings, so I was able to get on the ice. This stuff allows me different opportunities to be. Why am I telling you this? I want you to know about this, not to be jealous about it, because that's not what I'm saying. I want you to I'm saying this to you so you can see that it's possible, right? That you can have this kind of life. And that's where I'm doing this. You know, there's, like I said, my own groups. This is a group that I belong to, the Mastermind coaching group that I belong to. And the one in the center here is my own group that I have. I'm going to talk about a couple of these people later on in this presentation, but I have my own coaching company. I belong in Mastermind. So I do this. I walk the talk, right? I don't just talk about it. Okay. So, and lastly, what I've done is I have, which I'm really proud of, is what's called an Immigrant Masters United Mastermind, where we transform lives. We start from ourselves, right? We transform ourselves, then we transform our businesses and the lives around us, the communities around us. And that is dear to my heart mastermind that it's for immigrants only, because I have never seen anything like this just for us immigrants. And I think that is needed here in this country. But guess what? It wasn't always this great, right? Like I said in my story, I came in from Poland, and I was always infatuated with the computers and internet and marketing and that kind of stuff. So I always dabbled in it. Not when I was little, though, because when I was little, if you look at the picture on the right here, the black and white picture, that's me in we lived like in a hotel, because this was during communist era. So they had us in these blocks, these stories, buildings, and each one of us, each family had just one room. And our room was like about 12 by 12 or 14 by 14 feet. I'm not really sure how exactly the size of it was, but it wasn't that big. And that was our bedroom, our living room, our dining room, little kitchenette off to the side, and the bathrooms were down the hallway. And if you look at the bottom right corner of this picture, you're going to see this little device that's actually a dryer, like you dry your clothes in. So that's how I started. Now, at the beginning, life was pretty good, but as we started moving along and I was starting growing when I was 5, 6 years old, I started noticing that my dad was drinking a lot. And it wasn't a good thing because he was a pretty bad alcoholic to a point where he was being very abusive, not only to me, but to my mom, especially to my mom. And they were getting in a lot of fights. They were constantly fighting over money a lot of times because he would come home and, ask for money to go back into the bar again, right? So that was very prominent. So about 7, 8 years old, my mom filed for divorce. And they ended up being divorced. And in fact, at one point I remember they were asking me to go on a stand and, which parent do I want to stay with, right? Which unfortunately I never had to do, but it was not a good place to be, right? Now, if you look at my own life, if I want to share something kind of vulnerable with you, in the beginning of my life here, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I didn't have a lot of money. I was broke. I was struggling to make the ends meet, and got married, had a beautiful wife, and started having family. And before you know it, we started fighting. And some of it wasn't about money. I mean, I wasn't an alcoholic. I wasn't a bad father, but we started fighting. And before you know it, 7 years later, almost 8, which is right around the same time when my parents got divorced, my wife filed for divorce. And it was the hardest things I ever endured in my life. It was the most heartbreaking thing, to a point where I literally dropped everything afterwards. The business that I had suffered big time. And the client list that I actually had, I totally let that go. So I had to start all over again afterwards. But here's what I've discovered in that time, that something had to change. Something had to be different, because what was happening right then and there, if I started looking back in my life, I was repeating the past of my parents in my own life, in my own future. My parents got divorced when I was 8. I was getting divorced when I was 8. My parents were broke. I was broke. I mean, it was just crazy how the life started repeating itself. I mean, sometimes if you think about it, you say to yourself, I will never be like you, right? To your parents or whatever. And yet later on in life, you start thinking about it like, I'm just like my mom, just like my dad, right? How has that happened? Why is this happening? So what I did is I went on this massive self-discovery, this coaching to actually break this pattern that I was in, because this pattern kept repeating over and over and over again. So this is why I want you to listen and watch carefully to this, because that's why this is so important. So imagine if you got something out of this webinar, this discovery that I've been talking about this for the last 5 minutes. In the next 12 months, you had this breakthrough where your business transformed, where you doubled your income, or your relationships transformed, or you all of a sudden have something that you've always wanted to do, but couldn't do it. What would that be like? What would that feel like? Right? I think that would be freaking amazing, right? Because I've experienced it, and it is an unbelievable feeling. So I want you to get that same thing. So here is what that principle that Fortune 500 founders possess, and the multimillionaire investors and immigrants that I've interviewed possess. And that is what I call the greatness principle. And basically what the greatness principle boils down to is to self-discovery. They always strive to discover something new about themselves. And they leverage people, they leverage money, they leverage everything in their life to take massive actions. Those are very powerful ingredients that are very important in this greatness principle. And one of the things that they look and how can I leverage myself? How can I leverage people? How can I take more massive action? And the way they do that is by applying 3 different things into that greatness principle. The first is the discovery. Like the trait number 1 is to discover what I call the absolute truths. And I'm going to share what those absolute truths are in just a minute. That's the first thing they talk about. Second trait that they all have, and I kid you not, without fail, every single one of these guys that I've interviewed have a mastermind factor. There's something to be said about that, right? The mastermind factor is so important. I'll give you a hint. If you read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, he talks about this. That's why this is so important. The third trait that I'm going to share with you that they all have too is what I call the big why. And you might have already heard before about the big why, but there's something more to it than just having that why. So let me talk about the first trait, the absolute truths. What I mean by that is the absolute truth is basically blind spots, those blinded decisions that we've made as a child. And because of that decision, that is an absolute truth for us that without us even realizing it. Here's what I mean by that. There's been a time in your life when, most of the time when you are little, when you made the decision for yourself, something along the lines of, I will never, or I will always, or whatever the case may be. And it's been such a big, impactful kind of a period in your life, big, impactful decision that you made to yourself, that it's got burned into your subconscious mind, and that is running your entire life. Because guess what? That kind of thing is locked away in your subconscious. And guess what else? Your subconscious, whether you realize it or not, runs about 95% of your day. And about 5% is actually conscious. Don't believe me? When you were brushing your teeth today in the morning, did you do this consciously? Did you actually go to yourself as you were brushing? Left, right, left, right, left, right, press harder, left, right, or is it automatic? Right? That's your subconscious. Did you, when you drove today, was it very conscious? You actually had to tell yourself, I have to move my hand on a steering wheel and I have to move to the left or right, or I have to contract this muscle or whatever. When you were walking, is it subconscious? It's most of your day is on the subconscious level. And that's how your life is run, on your subconscious level. So those decisions, usually it's about 3 big or so decisions, and they go from anywhere 3 or 4 years old to about 20 years old. Make those kinds of, make up your life. And that's what happened for me as I've discovered. And by the way, you can't know these things. It's impossible for you to know them. That's why it's a blind spot, When you're driving a car down the street, you have a blind spot in your thing. Here's a great thing about this. You have to discover it. And the way you discover it, most of the time is with a coach or with someone else that can help you, question in the right way and help you discover that. Because guess what? Think about it this way. When you finally see that car in your blind spot on the road, right? What do you do immediately just like that with a snap of a finger? You either turn back into your own lane, right? So you don't hit him, or you take some kind of a course of action, different action that helps you be on a different path. And that's what these absolute truths, when you discover them, that's what they help you to do. You go and you move on to a different path in life. And that's what this is all about. So that's what I want you to look at. So here's a little game that I want you to play. If you look at the screen right now, look very closely at this object that I have on the screen. Okay? How many colors do you see in that object, that gray box thing? Do you see 2 different colors? Like it's darker at the top and lighter at the bottom? Right? Well, check this out. If I block off the middle part of this box, this picture, like this, what happened now? all of a sudden, it's the same exact color. I promise you, I did not change the picture. These are the same exact pictures. All of the differences is between the bar. What do I mean by that? Because your mind, your eyes, your different senses can perceive what they believe is true. However, what the reality of it is not really true. Your perception, the eyes, for instance, in this particular case, are saying these are two different colors right now because based on its experience from before, how the light hits it, it looks like two different colors. However, if you eliminate that light over here, now it is the same exact color. So that's what I want you to do. Well, I want you to recognize that your reality that you perceive is not actually a complete reality. Have you ever been in a room with two different people and one person is sharing something about life or some kind of an opinion, right? And you and your friend have completely two different views of it. That's because we all have what I call a filter. We have this filter that we put on. It's almost like those rosy glasses that we put over our eyes that interpret our entire world based on our experiences, based on how we were brought up as we were kids, by our parents, by our school system, teachers, anybody that we interact in life, situations that happen for us in our life. We have this filter how we view everything. Think about it this way. How is it that some people in your life always make you mad, right? Because we already have, think about it this way. Have you ever looked at to call your parents or your mom or your dad or somebody, and before you even called it, you said to yourself, you know what? This conversation is probably going to go bad. They're going to be angry again, or like, I already know what they're going to say, right? Because we have this filter. It's what's been called as already always listening. That filter is already created for you. It's already there. The way we listen to people, they will listen to ourselves. It's always there. It's already there. And that's how we listen through our senses, to everything in our life. And your entire life is set by that filter. Unless you discover the new filter and you change the way you're looking at it. So let me give you an example of my own filter. So here's my first example. So when I was 8 years old, like I told you before, earlier in the webinar, my dad was an alcoholic. So there was one particular day, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. We were all sleeping. My mom, we were sleeping in the room. And all of a sudden there was banging on the door. So he wakes us up. Come to find out, it's my dad. He came from the bar completely drunk, and he didn't have a key, so he was busting on the door to open. So my mom opened the door for him. He gets in there and starts arguing with her, wanting money so he can go back to the bar. Now, whether my mom or not, she had the money or not, I don't know. Most likely she did not, because she had a very low wage kind of a job. It was a communist country, so they didn't pay them a lot. But she didn't want to give him. So before you know it, they get into the argument. They start fighting back and forth and yelling at each other, and it starts to get physical. And to a point where at that time, I think my mom was pregnant with my sister. It was in the late stages of the pregnancy. And he started hitting her and beating her, and to a point where she fell down on the floor. And when that happened, he started kicking her. And I was at that time, very young. And I didn't know what to do. So I went and I jumped on him, on his back, and he threw me off. So I'm like, well, what do I do now? So I decided, I went in the kitchen, I grabbed a frying pan, and if you can picture this, so he's over there, in his world, kind of, beating on my mom. And we had this couch, and if you picture the arm of the couch, I went up on that couch on that arm because I could be taller. And I went and I hit him on the head with a frying pan. And he fell over and he passed out. And in that very moment, that moment is very impactful. And in that very moment, I said to myself, that I'll never be like you because nobody likes you right now. And I'm going to make sure that people like me, that everybody likes me. And that is the absolute truth that I decided for myself in that very moment. Now, what do you think happens when you say to yourself, nobody likes you right now, and I'll make sure that everybody likes me? Well, there's the people pleaser. I would say yes to everyone and everything. And what happens when you say yes to everyone and everything? You never have enough time. You never have enough time to get stuff done. And it's hard to make decisions. In fact, when I was married with my wife, one of the reasons why we got divorced is because I couldn't make a decision, because I didn't want her to be upset with me. I didn't want her to, not like me, even though she loved me, right? So she would ask me like, hey, Peter, where you want to go to for dinner tonight? What restaurant? And I would say, what does the people pleaser say? Whatever you want to go, honey. And that's how the relationship went, to a point where she got finally tired of it. She couldn't take it anymore. And she just wanted me to make a decision. So that was the absolute truth that was running me. So another example I have, so one of my coaching students, Chen, he is from an Asian country. And he remembered when I was coaching him in one of our sessions that his grandpa got in a deal with somebody in his town, and the deal went bad. And he was complaining about this person, and because the person was pretty rich, and he was complaining about him and how he will never do this again. And so as Chen is sitting there and listening to his grandpa, he decided that because of what happened to grandpa, he gave the money to basically on a deal with this person, and he never got it back, right? It went out the window kind of thing, right? So Chen right there and again decided that when I give money away, when I let go of the money, something bad is going to happen. And he didn't even realize that story, that conversation has been running in his life throughout his entire life. What's the result of that? Well, it's hard. He has a hard time growing his income because guess what? When he gets more money, something's bad's going to happen. That was his belief. And the other thing is he had debt and he couldn't get rid of the debt because guess what? When he pays for the debt, he gives that money to pay off the debt, something bad's going to happen. And that was his truth. So when he finally discovered that truth for himself, that was the absolute truth, and we were able to reframe it and create a new way of dealing with this, he was finally able to start growing money and getting rid of the debt and paying off debt and have freedom around money, have a powerful conversation. So stay tuned till the end because I'm going to show you how I can possibly help you uncover one of your absolute truths for free, okay? So I'm going to share that at the end of the webinar with you. Here's another example of the absolute truth. So later on, going back to when I was young, back in Poland, right? This is about 9 years old right after my parents got divorced. And one day my mom comes to me and says that, Peter, listen, we don't have money and I need to go and make some money. So what I'm going to do, the way to do this is I'm going to go to United States, make some money. And when I make some money, then I'm going to come back. Right? And I remember sitting and talking to her, and I thought she was joking, actually. I didn't think that she was being, like serious about it. So I'm like, yeah, okay, Mama, fine, whatever, And she said that I'm going to go live with my aunt, my uncle for the time being. And I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, whatever. So I kept kind of like ignoring, didn't believe her at all until we show up at the airport. And we're at the gate. I don't know if you remember back in the day, you could actually walk up to the actual gate where the plane was departing. And I'm standing there at the gate and I'm begging my mom, please don't go. Please don't go. Please don't leave me. Please don't leave me. And I'm begging her and I'm crying. I'm bawling my eyes out. I remember this like it happened yesterday. And before I know it, I see her walking off on the plane in the gate there. And I remember I said to myself, if my mom doesn't listen to me, if I can convince her not to go, not to leave me, How can I convince anyone? I can't convince anyone. If I can't do it with my mom, how can I convince anyone? Well, guess how that impacts you in life, right? How can you get clients? How can you be a good marketer? How can you grow your business if you feel like you can't convince somebody, if you can't sell yourself or whatever you want to call it, right? And by the way, that truth, if I started looking back at it, that truth got reinforced when I was 14 years old, because guess what happened? My mom came back at 14 years old, and we went back to Poland, to the United States, and I don't want to go. So that got reinforced. That also got reinforced with my wife. I remember when she told me about being divorced on that day, couldn't convince her to stay. That reinforced it again. So until I finally was able to reframe it with my coach, I couldn't grow my business. Here's another example that I want to share with you. Mother knows best, right? So I'm 14 years old right now. My mom comes back to Poland from United States. This was about 6 years now that I was living with my aunt and my uncle. And I ended up having a great life over there. My kids, not my kids, my aunt and uncle were great. I had a great life. They had a 4-story house. So it was like living in a mansion. We had food on the table. I had friends and going to school and all kinds of things. It was awesome. I was actually in a group over there that we were dancing and touring the entire Poland. It was really great. So my mom comes, and I'm thinking she's coming for vacation, right, to visit us, because she hasn't seen us in 6 years. So I'm all excited, and we're having fun. And about 2 weeks before she's departing to go back to the United States, she sits me and my sister down. She goes, guess what, kids? You're going with me to the United States. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yes, you are. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, well, yes, you are. You guys are coming with me. Long story short, next thing I know, I'm on a plane to United States. Well, here we go again. I can't trust people because, listen, I trusted my mom that she's going to, come, and this is what she was said. And again, I don't have anything to say when it comes to making decisions, because when I try to speak up, to have something to say, to make a decision, it doesn't matter, because in that moment, it didn't matter at all. It was even with my own mom. So guess what happens with that result, right? I had a hard time trusting people. How do you think that goes with client relationship, business relationship, or even with family or friends or wives, right? It doesn't work. And it's not a good decision maker. My relationships suffered. My business suffered because I couldn't make decisions. Even like crazy things like, asking simple decisions. What time we're going to meet somewhere or whatever the case may be. I couldn't do it because guess what? That would mean that something about me, right? I had this filter on me that prevented me from doing anything. So how do you actually overcome these absolute truths? How you master them? This is how masters do it. This is how these immigrant masters do it, and how those Fortune 500 companies, these people do it, because I've been in a room with these types of people, so I know how they do it. So the first thing that needs to be done is you need to discover it, right? Like I said, it's a blind spot. You can't see it. So you need to discover this first. And the way to do that is you need to get a coach a lot of times, because these people are trained in that kind of discovery to help you discover that. You can have these things about money. You can have it about relationship, about people, about yourself. The biggest ones are the ones that are around about yourself, that you make agreements about yourself, because those are the things that stop you. Listen, if you are stopped in life, there's some kind of an absolute truth that you have about yourself, and you need to be able to discover that. And hopefully by me sharing mine and being vulnerable with you here today, it has helped you discover that for yourself, okay? Once you discover this, you need to acknowledge it, that it's there. You can't ignore it, right? You can't say, whatever. You have to really actually acknowledge it and understand it, that it's there, and get the impact of what it does for you. Because unless you get the impact of what this thing does to you, the negative impact that it does on your life, like I got for myself, ruined my relationship, my marriage, and all kinds of stuff. It was a huge impact. And that right there helped me to create a new way of being, reframing it, and actually be able to stick to it, because it's actually possible. We humans are able and capable of making instantaneous decisions and living their life moving forward with those decisions. But it has to be very impactful. Think about it this way. Has there been a time in your life where something happened and all of a sudden you are not that same person anymore? How many times, you see somebody smoking, right, their whole entire life, and the doctor tells them their whole entire life, stop smoking, you're going to get cancer. Stop smoking, you're going to die. Stop smoking, you're going to die. Nothing phases them until one day they have a heart attack. And literally the next day, they stop smoking. Or with weight, right? You need to lose weight because you're going to have a heart attack, And they don't do it. They try and try and try and try and try over and over again, but nothing ever changes. Then one day they have a stroke, and the next day they go hit the gym, and months later they lost the weight. How does that happen, right? Because there's a huge impact. And so you frame it afterwards, right? I was able to reframe it for myself with my students and create a new way of being in those situations in such a way that it's very present for you, that you can actually take it to a different level. So this is what I did. So my own triumph around that is I had an immigrant coach, actually someone who can understand me, because what I think that I've discovered that somebody who comes from the same walks of life, like, the immigrants, we have different cultures that we come from, right? Different ways of bringing up. Like I was in a communist country. People who live here sometimes don't understand what that means, right? So I had an immigrant coach, and he helped me discover it and reframe it. And we created a new possibility of being in my life. And when I did that, when I started living the life that way, guess what happened? After that, my business grew. In fact, in the next 3 months after that discovery, after this, my business, I made more money in the next 3 months than I did in the previous year. And my business has been growing since then. I was able to build a podcast like I was sharing to you at the beginning of this webinar, where I've been able to connect with powerful people. I mean, people that I don't have any connections. One of the speakers that I've interviewed is a partner with Kevin Harrington, who was one of the sharks on the Shark Tank, right? These are the kinds of connections that you can have. And I was able to influence people. And now I actually speak to people. I speak on stages at events, and I'm able to speak to people's lives and help them grow their business. My relationship with my kids has grown tremendously. And I'll share with you a little later about my big why and how that has transformed too. But my relationship with my kids, and I was able to I have a great girlfriend who I can actually now drop my filter on many of those situations that I before didn't see, right? And I was making people in my relationships wrong, where now I can actually see something different and see their life. Here's what I want to share with you, my own new way of being. So I actually have what I call Polish Peter's living vision. I created out of my the mastermind that I'm in currently, and I have this living vision of who I am in life, and that's posted on next to my bed, and it's in my house, and I read it every day, and I live it. And then my overall vision is that I am being an authentic, bold leader and a remarkable contribution to everyone I come in contact with in my life. And in the process of that, I leave them empowered, transformed, enabled, and present to their own greatness. And when I do that, it's transforming and empowering and creating my own bold, remarkable, fearless, and unstoppable world. I am the Polish Tony. And my big why is to set an example for my kids, living my vision. So this is what my vision is. This is what I picture every day. This is what I have in my mind when I talk to people. And that's what I want you to get away with. So again, stay until the end, and I'll show you how you can have your absolute truth uncovered for free from me. Okay? So the next trait is the mastermind factor, what I talked about. I don't know if you've read The Think and Grow Rich, but if you have not, it's one of the greatest books of all time. I've read that book many times. It's such a powerful book. And one of the things that he talks about in chapter 10 is the power of mastermind. It's the driving force. It's what makes mediocre result explode to 10 times the result, to 20 times the result. And one of the reasons is because you are connected with powerful people. You're connected with different minds. I believe that beyond our conscious And what we see, like literally can see in front of it, there's a whole another world, whole different energy. And when we connect with these kinds of people, new possibilities open, new people come into our lives, new situations, new things happen. And these people that are in a mastermind can actually see something that I haven't been able to see because I've been with what I'm struggling with for most of the time. And they can see a different view, and they can give me the accountability to keep me on track, to get me to take me to the next level. And I strongly believe that after discovering those absolute truth, the mastermind factor is the most powerful thing that you can utilize in your own life to grow, not only professionally, but personally. So I get coaching. I'm myself in masterminds. Here's one picture of one of the masterminds I belong to. There's some powerful people in this room. I mean, a lot of them in real estate, guys who are making multi-million dollars. There's a guy who does a lot of stuff in stock markets and private money and all kinds of stuff like that. And there's a guy in there who does Bitcoins, and he's making a lot of money. So these people are there. And here's the great thing about masterminds. They're like-minded people. So they don't drag you down. You want to be careful about who you associate yourself with in life. Because guess what? If you're around negative people, they're going to drag you down. And when you're an entrepreneur or business owners, this is when it counts, right? You have to be around positive people because negative people will drag you down. So I am in masterminds myself. I get coaching myself. And one of the things that I get out of it is accountability, because I know myself that I need accountability. Now, why do you see Borat over here in this big Speedo, right? Because I have a similar situation that I had with my own coaching group. So here's what was happening. For the longest time, I could not get my podcast off the ground. I couldn't get it to work. I couldn't, get the podcast out there because I had all kinds of excuses. I, didn't have time or this or that, right? So the group, the mastermind group, we came to this accountability that if I don't get the podcast out into the world by a certain date, which I actually set an exact date, it was in September. If I don't get it done, that at the next retreat that we're going to have, I am going to have to walk around the hotel in a Speedo, and that's it. Now, as much as a great, good-looking guy I am, do you think I want to walk around in a Speedo at a public place where nobody knows me looking like this? Heck no. So what do you think happened after next retreat came? I got it done. And the accountability happens like you would not believe, because we prioritize what's really important to us. And that right there became so important to me that the accountability factor kicked in and I was able to make this happen. So that triumph was amazing. And what ended up doing for me is the mastermind is personal connection, like I mentioned before. I am a connector right now. I am able to connect people with so many different people because my industry, what I do, I deal with different business owners, different clients in about 16 different industries. So I know people that I can connect with, for joint venture partnerships, for growing each other's business and so forth, right? My business has been growing every single year. And I think it is because of the mastermind. Because what happens in the mastermind is an effect that's called rising tide lifts all boats. If you think about the ocean, when you have a tide come in, every single boat is going to rise, right? It's not like one is not. So even if you are the least experienced person in the room, guess what? That fact that you are among these people, it's going to elevate your level just like that instantly, because you do not want to be the worst person in the room, right? And like I said, they see what you don't see. You get top level access to different people, different strategies, because at Mastermind, what happens a lot is, every single one of these people come in with some kind of powerful strategy that they've been using in their business that's been making them great success, whether in profits or whatever the case may be, and they share it, right? And the mastermind people can apply it. That's why you see a lot especially in the internet marketing world, a lot of these, groups that are being connected there. And that's why I have this Immigrant Masters Unite, because this is what it's about. And, the benefits are limitless. There's so many other things. So, but that's all I want to say about that. Now, on the trait number 3 of the greatness principle is the big why. Here's one of the things that I've discovered, that immigrant masters are very, very persistent, because they had to overcome a lot to get to this country, to make things happen, to do all kinds of different things, right? So they have to be very persistent. They are very persistent. They're driven. They never give up. And they live their passion, right? They're very passionate about what they do. Now, what is the secret driving force for that? Because just being passionate or driven a lot of times doesn't cut it, right? When the times get tough, right? It's not going to work. So what the secret driving force is the big why. Each one of these people have what I call the big why, because that is what gets them out in the morning out of bed. When at 5 o'clock kicks in and you have to get up, you have this voice inside your head saying, just hit the snooze. 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. But when you have the big why, and when the big why fires you up and then moves you, when it touches you, when it inspires you, guess what? You're going to get out of the bed and you're going to make things happen. And here's what I want to share with you about my big why. And this is why I do everything that I do. It's right there, those kids. Specifically, my oldest, Aaron. So one of the times, what happened was, used to be where I pick him up from school and gets in the car, and I was like, so Aaron, how was your day? Boring. Well, what happened? Nothing. Well, tell me, what's going on? This was he was about 11, 12 years old, right? Oh, nothing. So did anything interesting happen? Nothing. And that was the whole conversation. And I knew from other parents saying that if you don't get to that kid before they hit the teenage years, good luck reaching them back then. So I was freaking out. I was scared that I was going to lose my, kid, that I'm going to lose that connection. And I was scared, and I was getting angry because I would say, like, well, you can't say this. Why are you saying this? Why are you being so negative? And blah, 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 right? What I did not see, that I was constantly making him wrong. I had this filter. I had this already always listen, like I was telling you guys about earlier, that, before he got in the car, I already knew, just looking at him walking down the street, what he's going to say, how he's going to say, what he's going to do, and all that kind of stuff, right? And, he got it, and he's like, proved it to me, right? But I didn't see that I was creating part of this, right? Because of my questioning, my demeanor, my look, how I looked. And he looked at my face, and he's like, oh, I don't even want to talk to that right now. So until I finally got that, right? I got that I was being that kind of a dad. And then I created that what I'm going to be doing from now on is that I am going to be fun. I'm going to be playful. And I'm going to play a game with him. Like there's a puzzle, right? And he has all the pieces to that puzzle. And every single time he shares something with me, it's like him giving me one piece of that puzzle. And I have to be very present, like really listening to it. Like be over there with him instead of being in my head. When I do that, that's when I'm going to get that piece of puzzle. If I'm not, I'm going to miss the piece of the puzzle, and the puzzle is going to be incomplete. So I created it, and I started doing it. And guess what happened? Over time, he started opening up. He started saying more things. And now, and I'm saying this like it's a good thing, because this is not a bad thing. When he gets in the car, he will not shut up. He is constantly talking about this and that. And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, well, it's just, when is this going to stop? When is that, train going to stop, come to an end, right? But I love it. And my kids are big why, because this life, what I've been able to achieve and what I've been able to do and I've been able to discover has allowed me to do these things with my kids, and has allowed me to be that example for my kids. If you look back in like I shared in my vision, my own vision, is my big why is to set an example of who you are to be, to live for my kids, so they can see how to live and be with others. And I think I have a big impact on them. So this is my big why. That's what gets me out in the morning. That's what gets me to go to the gym when it's, when I go to the gyms in the evening. And, on the end of the day, I'm burned out, mentally. And when I think about my big why, that I am setting an example for them, and they see that I don't go to the gym, or I'm like giving up or not doing something, guess what? Instantly, I'm getting in a car and I'm doing whatever I need to do to hack myself to get to the gym. Sometimes what it means is I'll give a little pre-workout, or I'll drink a cup of coffee. And then 10 minutes later, 10, 15 minutes later, I'm like full of energy. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go, right? But that's what you need to do, because life happens, and that big why is what gets me to it. So do you have a big why? Think about it. Do you have a big why? And if not, you gotta create it. You gotta make it happen, because if you don't, that's what is why you're not successful so far. So let's put all this together, what I share with you guys today, okay? So every single one of these immigrants, the Fortune 500 people, the immigrants that I interviewed on my podcast, have what I call a greatness principle. And granted, there are so many underlying factors that go into it, but I believe that every single one of these factors, like taking massive action and being driven and being passionate and have good communication skills and being able to talk to people and calling and cold calling or doing marketing on the internet or putting yourself out there and all this stuff, all boiled down under those three traits here. Absolute truths, discovering them and overcoming them and creating something new. That is huge. They all done it. The mastermind factor, being able to connect with other people, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you are most of the time just sitting by yourself. You need the human connection. And when you're in the room with 12 other powerful people, guess what? They bring you up. They take you to a whole new level and you make things happen. And then you need to have that big why, not only to overcome these absolute truths, to join the mastermind, be a part of it, but to actually execute in life. And that is, I think, what the greatest principle, that's the missing factor for a lot of people. So let me ask you a question. Are you struggling right now in a certain area of your life? Whether it's business or relationships or your own self-talk, right? How you talk to yourself. Are you struggling with that? Are you, maybe you're depressed. Maybe something is not working well in your life. Is there something like that happening right now? Do you feel like maybe you've hit a ceiling, right? In life or in your business? Like maybe it's like you've hit certain profits in your business and you can't seem to get to the next level. Maybe you're feeling stuck in life or in business. Well, would you want to grow and go beyond your current limits that you have? Because guess what? The current limits that you have set for yourself are just that. It's that filter that you set for yourself. We humans are so much more powerful. Remember about the 4-minute mile? Nobody could hit that 4-minute mile until the one day a guy came, broke that 4-minute mile, and then over the next 12 months, a whole bunch of people did the same thing. We are more powerful than we think we are. And those limits that we set ourselves is just up here between the two ears in the mind. And my last question is, would you like to be a part of something bigger than you? Something that is going to help you grow in your business and uncover these absolute truths and all that kind of stuff. Because if you do, I have a solution for you. But here's the thing. When I started looking at this, there's a big problem that comes to coaching and mastermind, right? These are like two different things, right? Because on the coaching side, you get individual coaching most of the time. Sometimes you get group coaching, but most of the time it's just one-on-one coaching, right? Like a life coach or a business coach. You talk to one person over and over again, right? But then you don't get that, big interaction, right? Then also, you don't have that mastermind. It's just coach to a student. There is no mastermind principle. That's very important as part of the greatness principle, right? You don't have any group or any retreats that you can go and sit in a room with other people and learn from them and connect with them and join venture with them and connect with other people and uncover those blind spots, because those happen a lot at those retreats. You don't have access to some of the best strategies. Your coach might give you a best strategy, but it's much different where you're sitting with 12 different people. They all share their secrets, their strategies that has helped them, whether it's on internet, in the marketing, or Facebook that's happening, or in growing a business, or hiring people, big players, or whatever the case may be, partnerships, getting money for your business, whatever's working for them. There's a big difference between 12 minds versus one mind. And when you're coaching on an individual level, a lot of these coaches are not immigrants. They don't get your culture. They don't get your background. They don't get the fact that you're an immigrant, what it takes, and your upbringing and all that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult. Even most of the coaches can help you out. I'm not disputing that. They can be very, very helpful, and they can actually make things happen. But being an immigrant, there's something about that I've noticed, okay? On the mastermind level, basically, you get very little personal coaching, if at all, right? Because mastermind is basically you come several times a year together as a group, and you mastermind together. Each person talks about something, about their struggle in the business, and the mastermind group helps them, answers and achieve that particular thing, right? You don't get a coach to student kind of a relationship on the mastermind level. You don't have a specific coach that talks to you on, every single month to help you on the new waypoints, the new action steps that you need to take, right? So they don't create an individual growth plans. They don't help you uncover those blind spots. A lot of my students, when they uncover their blind spots, are on our individual coaching sessions that I have with them. And then we actually reframed it. I have these exercises that I do with them where we reframe your way of being. And it happens right then and there. I have one student that I've had a conversation with. His name is Chris, and he was dealing with an addiction, specific type of an addiction that was impacting his relationship with his wife. It was impacting his business and all kinds of things. And we sat on the session with a 1-hour session, and he literally got real vulnerable with himself and with me. And we were able to literally reframe that entire addiction. And he's barely ever having this deal with this addiction right now. He still works at it, still comes up to him in his life, but he's able to deal with it more powerfully and doesn't do it as much. And it actually helps his relationships and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's what it's important. That's what you get with a mastermind, not with a coach, right? But you don't get in mastermind. And you don't get individual steps or plans with a coach, right? And I have not seen anywhere, and I've did the research, where it's just an immigrant-centered mastermind, just for immigrants. So what I decided to do is I decided to create my own mastermind that's specifically for immigrants. That's called the Immigrant Masters Unite, because we unite and we transform ourselves. Imagine being in a room with 12 other powerful immigrants who are there for the same reason, to help themselves, help you, and the world around them. How cool would that be? How awesome is that, right? But here's the thing that you get with this particular mastermind. I combined the coaching and the mastermind together. And so you will get individual coaching with me, 101, right? Every single month, we're going to have a coaching session. You're going to get coach to student interaction. You're going to get retreats. With Immigrant Masters Unite, we have 2 retreats a year in the United States, and they're 3 days each. And first 2 days, it's about mastermind and coaching. So each one of us, each one of you goes up there. So imagine yourself, it's your turn, you get up there, and whatever is important for you, you get about an hour to talk about your biggest struggle, what you want to talk about, what you want the mastermind to help you with, and that's what you're doing, right? And on the day 3, each one of us goes up there and shares a power strategy that works for them in their business with everybody else. So think about how powerful those 3 days. I mean, you not only get help for yourself, and by the way, listen, a lot of times what your biggest struggle is, the solution that you're looking for, actually happens outside of your own talk, because you hear other people talking and you're like, whoa, that totally applies to me. That's how I need to change. That's what I need to do. So that's what these masterminds are so powerful. And you get the best strategies, the secrets that will be revealed on day 3 by those other mastermind members, right? You get individual growth plan, with me. So I'm going to, we're going to tailor a plan for you to help you grow, individual plans and steps and the vision, what your life is going to look like, where you want to go, We're going to have a monthly group coaching call in between the retreats because we only meet twice a year. So for the, in between the retreats, 6 months, we're going to actually get on a Zoom call on the internet, and all of us get together again and do this mini masterminds on the group coaching calls. I'm going to give you access to a Facebook group that's a closed group where we can mastermind throughout the year, get connections, ask people for input, advice, maybe joint ventures and things like that. A lot of that stuff happens in there, and it's so powerful when it comes to it. And you're going to get accountability, because I think that's very important part of success. Being accountable to others, having great communication and things like that is so powerful. So this is what the mastermind is. It's an Immigrant Masters Unite mastermind where we transform lives. The goal of this mastermind, that we first transform ourselves, then we transform our business, and then we can transform the communities, people around us. And that was my number one goal. So the solution is that, like I said, first thing you're going to do is get a one-on-one coaching call with me, which is valued about $7,000 for an entire year, because you're going to get a coaching once a month. For me, I charge about $500 per hour. So you are going to get that value, like real value of that. First month, what we're going to do is we're actually going to have 2 sessions. One is going to be the coaching session. Another one is what's going to be a discovery session so I can learn more about you and things like that. In fact, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to send you this discovery worksheet that you're going to have to fill out. There's a whole bunch of questions in there so I can find out more about your business, about you, and things like that, okay? Each session every month is going to be about 60 minutes long, so there's plenty of time for us to dive into anything, uncover any absolute truths, reframe, and things like that. I am very, very good at reframing and help people take action. That's what I'm good at. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be able to create your vision and have set up an accountability, right? Next thing you're going to do is have the group coaching, right? The value of that is about $6,000 a year because we meet once a month. Like I said, it's going to Zoom call. If you've never been on a Zoom call, it's basically a platform that we use where every single person can be viewed on a video. It's a really cool way of interacting together, and it helps us be more accountable, helps us grow, helps us get more out of it. So those calls are about hour and a half once a month, and they're going to be on Tuesday, okay, of every month. You get 2 retreats per year, like I said, around the United States. The first retreat is going to be happening in July of this year. I'm going to give you the exact date in just a minute. The value of that is about 10 grand. That's about the average what the masterminds charge just for retreats, to going out to, for 3-day retreats. We're going to get a closed book access to a closed Facebook group. The value of that, I'm not sure, because here's what I mean by that. You can create a joint venture with somebody in a group. You can create a connection that's going to give you so much more business in you. Just think about it. If you just got one joint venture with somebody that will send you, 10 clients or 100 clients, depending on the type of a business, or maybe 1,000 different leads, right? What would that do for your business, for you? I think that will do amazing things, because I've seen this happen, okay? And like I said, you're going to get connections, joint ventures, that values prices. So the total value of what I'm providing you for here is at least $23,000, but it can go up higher, right? So here's my promises for the mastermind. What's going to happen next after we get off this webinar, right? When you decide to join the Immigrant Masters Unite, the first thing that's going to happen is I'm going to send you to a page where you're going to go and fill out this interview sheet, right? And it's about 10 different questions, very simple questions, nothing difficult. And you're just going to fill this out. And after that, after you fill it out, the next page, you're going to have a link to access my personal calendar, and you're going to schedule a discovery session with me. It's going to be a 60-minute call, and we're going to get on the call to make sure that we're a good fit for each other, right? So you are going to talk to me. I'm going to talk to you to see if we are a good fit for the mastermind, right? So that's what's going to happen. Then the next thing that's going to happen is if we're a good fit, then you make a payment for the tuition of the mastermind, which I'll share with you in just a minute. Excuse me. And then we're going to do the one-on-one coaching group calls. If we be part of it, those are 60 minutes each. Like I said, the life retreats, the first retreat is July 11th through the 13th, right here in Michigan, in Detroit area. It's very close to the airport, so you don't have to worry about big travel outside of the airport. And you're going to get accountability. I'm sorry for coughing all of a sudden. You got to drive. So, and you're going to get access to a private Facebook group. So here are my expectations from you, all right? Because this is, I want to make sure that people that are inside the mastermind, that those immigrants that are in it, they're the expectations. So unwritten one is you have to be either a first or second generation immigrant. What I mean by that is you either had to come to the United States and start as, you know, first generation, or your parents are immigrants, you know, and you are starting in here. Okay. So that's the first thing. Next thing is you need to join the calls and the retreats. That's basically because you're not going to be able to grow. You're not going to be able to take action if you don't join the calls, right? Because you don't take action, right? Be on time. I expect every single one of you to be on time when the call is set. That one little thing of being on time can transform the way you are in relationships, in business with clients, and so forth. I am always amazed at my clients when they come on the call with me and they say, wow, Peter, thank you for being on time again, because most of the time that doesn't happen. And that happens in life all the time. So if we have a call scheduled at 1, I want you to be there at 1, right? Next thing is you need to have integrity. What I mean by that is have integrity with yourself and with the people around us in the mastermind. So if you say something that you're going to do it. And if you can't do it, as soon as you know that you can't, let's say, make the call, or you can't deliver on a promise that you have with somebody, let them know. Let me know or them know that you can make it happen, and then we can make an alternate arrangements. Because if without integrity, without that, it's not going to work, right? So that's something that I expect. Be coachable. That goes without saying, because if you're not coachable, might as well not do anything, right? Be authentic, be true, be honest, be vulnerable, be respectful, and be a giver, right? One of the things that I want every single time I'm going to get a new student with a tuition, I am personally donating 10% of it to a charity. So I'm doing that, and I'm encouraging every single one of the members of the mastermind that every single time they profit because of the mastermind, 10% goes to their choice of the charity, right? So I want to give this back to the world. No gossip. I don't allow any gossip. And because gossip is poisonous, and we don't allow that in here. And be in action, right? Be in action. Always action. Because action, that's what makes things different. And that's what makes things happen. So you're going to impact the world. You know, you're going to transfer the out, be the ripple effect around the world, energy country. So how much is there? What's the tuition? Well, the average cost of the mastermind is anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000. And this is not a joke. I mean, if you look at the screenshot at the top, it's from a Genius Network. That's a pretty popular mastermind. They pay $25,000 a year. These masterminds can go up to $100,000 easily. I've seen masterminds that charge that. And they're well worth it because the people that are in it make 10 times as much. Individual coaches, I've seen them charge for a year about $10,000. If you get somebody for less than that, I'll be very careful because either they don't believe in themselves, or they don't charge enough, or they're not very good. One coach I know in particular, Tony Robbins, if you didn't know that, he charges for one day, he charges $1 million for one day, and people are in a waiting line to do that. This particular tuition for this particular mastermind, I am starting it at $15,000 a year. That's for everything is included. The mastermind, the retreats, the individual coaching calls, group coaching calls, everything is included for $15,000. Okay? Now, today, as a founding member, because I am creating this new group inside the mastermind, as a founding member, charter member of this group, I have 12 total spots that I'm allowing in this mastermind, and 4 are still open, and I am letting you in for $7,000 one time a year fee. So I've discounted this down to $7,000 from my 15, so it's more than half the cost, and you're going to be grandfathered for life. So every single year, people are going to be paying more. You're going to be paying $7,000 every single time every year as long as you are a member of the Immigrant Masters United Mastermind. Now, just to let you know, the next round, after those first 12 spots get filled, the pricing is going to go up. It's going to go to $12,000 one time a year. Now, what I want you to do is head over to mastersunite.com/IMU. That stands for Immigrant Masters Unite. That mastersunite.com/IMU and start your application on that page right now and get there as soon as possible. Guess what? Because when you do, I'm going to throw in a bonus for the first 4 people of having a free coaching session with me to uncover this particular absolute truth that you might have. So like I said before, you're going to fill out the application. The application is free, but with the understanding that when you fill out this application, that when you go on the discovery call, the interview call with me to make sure we're a good fit for each other, you can pay the tuition. All right. If you are completely broke, I will have to look at it individually, because if you are broke, that means that you have some absolute truths that we need to really go over. And if you're not willing to, put the money in, it's not going to work, because I've tried the free model, and I'll tell you what, and this is coming completely from love, it doesn't work. People who gain for free doesn't take action, don't do things, and don't never get it. And then we're going to do the discovery session, see if you're a good fit. If yes, you pay the tuition and we start the coaching and the mastermind. If no, no hard feelings. It's all good, right? Then I'm going to, have the coaching session with you, so you're going to get something out of this, right? And then you're going to have to book your retreat for July 11th to the 13th. If you can't make it at that time, we can talk about it to see how we can make the alternate arrangement. So, like I said, bonus today only for the next 5 people who fill out the application and book the call. I am going to do the free coaching session to break the absolute truth. One of the absolute truths, we're going to break him on that call. I can promise you that, because I've done that. But you have to be coachable on this call, vulnerable, and actually be truthful. Because if you're putting on a face, it's not going to work, right? So for the next 5 people who go to the website right now and book their call, I'm going to add the extra session. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that after you do that. So head over to link right now. Take massive action. Listen, people who are successful are the people who take massive action. If you're stopping, you're thinking about stuff right now, guess what? There's a reason why you're where we are right now. Okay, so take massive action. Go to mastersunite.com/IMU. Fill out the link right now. And on that page, by the way, when you go there, at the bottom of that underneath is the link to download the simple shift business manifesto that I told you at the beginning of this webinar. Now, listen, you have 2 choices. Choice number 1, you can leave this webinar, get something that you got out of this webinar. I think you got something out of this, because I believe that you would have, and live your life. And not much is going to change, because you've been on other webinars, you've done other trainings, other coaches, and you're on this webinar because you're looking for a change, right? So if you stay in this choice number 1, I promise you it's going to be probably the same exact thing. If you go with choice 2, when you schedule the webinar, if you schedule the interview session, get on it and become a member of Immigrant Masters Unite, where we can grow and help you and get you a new life, new vision, and take actions and get you accountable and things like that. You're going to have a new path in life, because guess where the magic happens? Magic doesn't happen in your comfort zone. If you're comfortable right now, the way you are, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to change. Magic happens when you're outside of your comfort zone. So if this is uncomfortable for you to do that, I would go ahead right now, take massive action, fill out the application at mastersunite.com/IMU, because that's how you are going to become more successful. Listen, I believe this is us versus them. And what I mean by that, there's a lot of naysayers out there. In fact, in this country right now, and I don't want to get into a political conversation, but the country is dealing with some political views that are based around immigrants. And you can be in that conversation and accept that conversation and complain about the conversation. that what happens to immigrants or whatever, or you can take a different approach and get a more powerful view of it. Do something for yourself that's going to help you grow in your own life. Listen, the people, the immigrants that I know, the powerful immigrants, the multimillionaires, do not worry about these conversations. They worry about growing their own business, their family, their own relationships. They don't talk about the politics. They don't get involved in that because that's a negative media. They focus on what's possible, what they can do, what they can actually master, and they can actually take account for. And they grow collectively and they help each other. And guess what? If you really think about it, I don't see anybody removing people because there's help others, right? They actually help other people grow. So this mastermind is partially that. Growing, my view of this mastermind really is at some point it's going to grow to a point where there's thousands and thousands and thousands of immigrants collectively together in a room. I have a vision where I'm going to be in a stadium with 5,000 to 10,000 other immigrants together, and we're collectively growing ourselves in this economy, in this business, and help each other out. So this could be your chance to become the founding member. So take massive action right now. Go to mastersunite.com/IMU and fill out your application. And if you're worried about the price, like it's too much, money is not, or you have some kind of excuse. Listen, you can take charge or you can make excuses. You can have money or you can have excuses. You can't have both. Because people who are successful in life do not go to excuses. And whatever is popping up in your head right now, that's stopping you right now, consider that that has been happening to you before, that is there for you all the time, that whatever thought that pops into your mind, it's stopping you. This is your opportunity to have a breakthrough in just that. Go out there and fill out this application. I'm not even asking you to give me a credit card right now to pay $7,000. All I'm asking is for you to go and fill out this application so we can have a conversation to see if we're a great fit for each other. Because I believe in this. I believe in this mastermind, and I think it's going to help you. But you're either going to have excuses or you're going to have money. I can't put in the resources. And by the way, if you think that $7,000 is too much, I've talked about this. The people in my mastermind actually told me I should be charging 12, 15. Some of them said 25 grand for it. And the reason for that is that people who don't pay, they don't act, and I struggle with how do I price this thing. And I went with $7,000. And the reason why I went with that is because I want you to have access to it. But at the same time, you need to have skin in the game. And at the same time, I need to have skin in the game too, because if I price myself for too low, I can't put in the resources, the time when I charge less, because my time is valuable and your time is valuable. People who are up to something in life, their biggest value is their time. It's not the money. Money is just a tool that they can use to value themselves and their time and their life. So that's what I want you to do. Go ahead and take that chance. You can either have excuses or you can have money. Go and take a massive action. mastersunite.com/IMU. And I hope to see you on the other side. The last thing I want to say is you have two choices, basically two paths. You can take the path to the left or take the path to the life. What's it going to look like 12 months from now? It's 12 months from now. If you take the path of not join the mastermind, where are you going to be? Are you going to be in any different place? Are you going to be further along in your journey? Are you going to have the massive success that you hope for? Or are you going to be on the webinar just like this, wondering, wish I would have done this 12 months ago? Listen, I know that people, when they take action, take massive action and join something new, when they step out of the comfort zone, things happen. So consider taking the path to the right, the path to the mastermind, the path to the application, the path to your new life. Because I believe that I can help you. I believe that the masters inside the mastermind can help you. I don't know you, right? But I've seen this happen countless times. So you have a choice to really go to the path left or the right. And that's what usually happens. I don't want you to come back here 12 months from now and be in the same place. I want you to be further along. So take the massive action. Go right now, mastersunite.com, and join. And listen, I'm just a Polish kid from a small town. If you look at the picture on the left, it was a little tiny kid. My life took me to some amazing, amazing things in my life. And if I can't do it, if I can do this, right? This Polak, and I'm sure you guys have probably Polish jokes. If I can do it, a Polish kid, I promise you, you can do it too. Take a chance on yourself. Give yourself this benefit. Give yourself this gift to get on this and take massive action. So head over to the link below, book your application, take massive action, mastersunite.com, and I will see you other side. And if you have any questions, I'll stay here for a little while longer and answer any questions you might have. Just get a little drink of water. Hold on 1 second. So one question is, are there any other costs that are involved with it? The only other costs I can think of is for you getting into the actual retreat. So you're going to have to book your flight and the hotel room. I usually, when I do these retreats, I try to get a special rate for my people. So you're going to have a discounted rate for the hotel room. But those are the only costs. You don't have to pay any other things for me specifically throughout the year. So that's it. Any guarantees? Well, tell you what, if you're in the business, I can guarantee you all kinds of different things, but there's no guarantees in life. And you're looking for a guarantee, I think you're in the wrong place, because I can't guarantee you that 12 months from now, you're going to be this mega star or you're going to make so much more money, because guess what? It depends on you. If you take the action, if you be coachable, if you actually do stuff, then you're going to get further along. But if you don't do stuff, I can't guarantee you're going to do anything, right? So a lot of it depends on you. So there's no guarantees in life. When you came into this world, there was no guarantee that you're going to be doing this or that, right? This is what entrepreneurs do every single day and make things happen. Can you do this later? Yep. I'm sure you could probably do it later and join this. But guess what? Cost is going to go up. Because right now I have 4 spots open left, and then time goes by. Listen, time is your most valuable asset. Money replenishes. If you still have let's say, a 9-to-5 job, or you're working for somebody else, or somebody that works for somebody else, every 2 weeks you have a paycheck, right? And it replenishes every 2 weeks in your bank account. So you can have that, kind of a things that constantly happens. Money replenishes, just changes hands. But time doesn't. Once you lose that 2 weeks or lose that year, you cannot get it back. So do you really want to wait 12 months or do you want to wait later? How many times have you said that you do it later, you leave, and then you forget about it or you never come back? You're going to bookmark something, then you're going to read it later and you never do. So do it right now before you forget, before it escapes your mind, before your little voice in your head is going to start talking you out of it, because that's what might happen. And last thing I want to say is, what's the question that's popping in your head right now? What's stopping you right now? What's the question? If you haven't taken that action right now, what's stopping you right now? Because whatever that question, whatever that thought is popping in your head right now, that's what's stopping you in life. That's what's stopping you from being more successful, having better relationships with anybody in your life, in your business, and so forth. So whatever it is that's stopping you right now, whatever it's popping in your head right now, is that exact reason that you are not where you want to be. So use it to your advantage. Give yourself a chance. Give yourself this breakthrough right now in this very moment to go and fill out this application, so you don't listen to this limiting belief that's in your head. And we're going to work on that later. So thank you so much. I want to acknowledge every single one of you for being on this webinar, for being on this training. I hope I provided a lot of value. I know your time is extremely valuable, And you guys gave it to me graciously by being on here. It's been an hour and a half call, and I'm so grateful for you because I know time is valuable, and you gave it to me very graciously. So I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can always email me at peter@mastersunite.com. That's peter@mastersunite.com, and I'll be happy to answer that for you. And until next time, I hope you join the Masters Unite, the Mastermind, because we're going to do some amazing things. We're going to do great things and be among people that we love. So hope to see you on the other side. All right. Until next time, this is Polish Peter out.